Do you think a New Year's resolution like normal people do?
Do I?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Do you think we have the power to really change it, things like that?
Sometimes. Not reliably.
Or something I've been thinking a lot. How much do we really have free will to change anything? Don't know. No, but based on your life, what you've done so far, what we all done so far, what people do, what people... There's got to be some experiences that can be related and, you know. Do we really have a free will?
It's my understanding that we do have free will. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have the ability to change anything that we want anytime.
So that would mean it's just will, not it's just like you just have the will. It doesn't mean
No,
you
we have the
really
freedom to
change
choose.
it.
We have the freedom to choose. The number of choices we have is a direct reflection or byproduct of where we are on the evolutionary scale. Just like a child in the crib has very few choices. As the child grows out of the crib, they have more choices as to how much of their environment they influence.
Yeah, but the bigger things. What about the bigger things? Can we change the bigger
Depends
things?
on one's karma.
But does that mean the karma can't be changed?
Karma can be filtered through different spiritual practices, meditation, yagas, forms of what is known as tapas, not the finger food, and so the impact of one's karma can be lessened. We still have that karma. It has been said as an example that someone who has an effective meditation routine and technique and does it regularly, they might spill a drop of blood, whereas if they hadn't been pursuing and practicing these spiritual endeavors, they might spill a pint. So you still get the karma.
It makes a lot of sense because you are purifying yourself, right? You're purifying yourself.
Correct.
If you're purifying yourself, obviously your karma is going to
have a lesser of an impact on you. You still get it, but you can almost say it's like wearing a mask these days. An effective, good quality mask. You still are breathing in the air. You still may be subject to what's in the environment.
Yeah. And when you said the yagas are the magical rituals from India, ancient India.
Yeah, for lack of a better term, sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
And so other magical endeavors, rituals, and so forth could also influence it as well.
Potentially, yeah.
Oh.
If they're performed in their purity and, well, the understanding of the effectiveness of the yagas in the Vedic tradition is that there is an enormous importance in the authentic recitation and performance of the ritual, as well as the state of consciousness of the person or persons performing it. So there are variables that affect the
As well. Yeah,
quality and the results.
that's true. I'm gonna have some whipped cream with my coffee. Whew. Lovely. Oh, it's good coffee. Yeah. Therefore, if we think along these lines, we have the belief that we can change karma then.
I think it's more accurate to say that we have the ability to influence to what extent our karma has an impact on us. And to be clear, karma only means action. And there has been a inaccurate connotation about karma being bad that's developed over the years. Karma just basically means action, and the laws of karma are indicated everywhere from the Vedic tradition to the Bible to modern science. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. As you sow, so shall you reap. What goes around comes around.
Yep.
But one's ability to reap the benefits of karma has a lot to do with one's past actions and where one is on their evolutionary ladder or path. And so-called bad karma isn't necessarily purely negative. It is something that can essentially require us to reconsider our choices at that point. All action has influence on our environment. Our interaction with the environment provides us with either greater choices or lesser choices, and that the other variable that's part of it is, again, where we are on the evolutionary ladder. I don't like ladder so much as path, but
And we can change, we can make changes, because if we can influence to a certain degree, that is a certain degree of change.
right. What you do today
By yourselves, and then the greatest influence would be with the Yagas, that they are getting in contact with the gods and pleasing the gods. It's the same as any other magic. To change, to benefit the person.
Potentially, yes, absolutely.
So we can change.
And the understanding about
Hold on. So what I'm thinking is that what you said, what you believe in, we can influence karma to certain degrees of small change. It will impact you less if you have a spiritual practice and all of that. Karma could impact you less. It still would impact you. Now, through the yagas, through the magical rituals, you can bring bigger changes.
potentially, yes. One of the understandings that is part of the practices of, as you're referring to them as the magical rituals and such.
Yeah, that's what the yagas are.
Yeah, is that they have impacts on us in layers. It is considered that we all have mountains of karma to go through, to traverse, and another way of thinking of it is that
No, not on the table, Gino.
we have a visitor. Here we go.
Gino, go down, Gino, go down. No. Okay.
Let's say you've bought an old house and you're looking to renovate it. And you go into a very nice room, your room, and you notice that there are layers, you don't even see them all, but there are layers of paint and wallpaper on the wall. You want to get to the original wood. In other words, you want to remove the layers that have been put on over the years so that you can be more of the truer room, in the truer room as it was meant to be. So it could be said that the spiritual practices, including yagas, have the effect of peeling off a layer of paint or wallpaper, that it would be layers of our karma. In the best situation, if the individual is in the best situation in terms of where they are on their path and the effectiveness of the ritual and other spiritual practices and a whole other variety of variables, they may expose and get to some of that original beautiful wood right away. And then something is revealed that is hidden for a long, long time, the true nature and the true beauty of that where you are.
It is interesting because that sounds like it's very close to some esoteric belief that the magician changes herself. I'm using as a she right now. So the magician changes herself in order to bring changes to her world. It's a very ancient belief that we're not really changing outside of ourselves. Some believe that when we do magic, we're changing ourselves. Like when you say you're peeling off.
Well, that's within.
We're changing ourselves, and then the change comes in the world we live in.
You know, I don't think that they're really separate. The illusion is that those two are separate, and if they're not separate, then there isn't a sequence. So many traditions teach as within, so without. The more we experience and subscribe to the concepts of synchronicity, the more is seen that, in this case, as the magician, as the practitioner changes within, the outside is changed. There's no separation between the two.
I know, but I'm talking about the magical rituals. It's really, really changing. Most people have this idea that they're changing the world, they're affecting someone else or the world around them, when in fact, they could be affecting themselves. Because if they change, then the world changes. Do you think, is that more towards what you're saying as well?
From one level of understanding, sure, it's accurate. But if we're going to consider and interject the bigger picture, is that to overuse the expression, if everything is one anyway, it's all one, then of course changing you changes what is outside of you, because it isn't really outside of you anyway. You know, the more advanced revelations from the Eastern views is that, and some Western as well, is that all the planets are inside of you, not just their influence.
Yes, the macrocosm and the
Yeah,
microcosm.
exactly.
As above, so below.
Right. So on one level, yes, it seems to be a progression, a sequential progression. If this, then that. It's very computer based as well. If you do this, then this results. But on another level, it's more about revealing what the connections already are. They're already there. You could say that on one level, you're not making a new connection, you're revealing a connection that hasn't been obvious, but it's always been there. And then you add a consideration that is viewed both in, at least in the Eastern traditions and in quantum physics, that as you reveal something, you are also having an impact on it. The simplest expression of it is that understanding that what we put our attention on grows stronger. So going back to your original question about New Year's resolutions, yes, on some level, what we put our attention on, and actually it probably would be more accurate to add what we have our intention on, becomes stronger. The adage doesn't say what you put your attention or intention on resolves it.
But it's the beginning of creation, because it all creates from it comes to your mind, the thought, and then you speak it out loud.
Right.
It comes into
Right.
reality, or you take action upon your thoughts and they become the reality.
Well, and you bring out a great point that is also fundamental to a lot of this understanding, that thinking is the basis of action, action is the basis of achievement, achievement is the basis of fulfillment. But what's the basis of thinking? All thinking, all thoughts come from that quiet stillness, sometimes referred to as the absolute within. They
Unless
bubble
if
up
you
from
live
there.
in the matrix.
Unless if you live in the matrix, then all thoughts come to you from the hierarchy. But the fundamental understanding is that the fundamental aspect of this, the foundational aspect of all this flow, is not in the field of action, not in the field of karma, in the field of silence. That's where all this gets started, in a way, and sprouts forth.
Yeah, from nothing all becomes, all
Right.
begins. That's where God is.
Yeah.
The absolute.
Yeah.
The logos. The one none has ever seen. The one we can't completely understand. Apart from Moses. No, but that's another God. Never mind. I have had a few experiences that made me believe that karma is not changed that easily. That there is a destiny. Well, you know, the books and the movies and everything have romanticized the word destiny. I'm not talking about all the beauty of destiny, because everybody has something to go through. I used to believe we make it as we go ourselves, maybe karma, some karma, not a lot. I didn't really put too much attention to karma in the beginning. When I was young, adolescent, I didn't think much of it. I thought we're strong enough, we want something, we make it happen, because that's how I have done things in my life. I have always achieved what I wanted. Maybe that's the attention, the focus, to be what you put your attention on. You want something, you go for it.
Attention is a form of action.
And then you get it. That's how I normally would think that way. And then later on, you start delving deeper into the occult and the esoteric and all, and mysticism and magic and all of that, and you start experiencing a different world on its own. I've had a few experiences that showed me to a certain degree that we don't change nothing. We can change timing of something. You can delay something. You can delay a bad thing.
That's a form of filtering.
Yes, you delay, but it will happen. I have some experience that showed me it didn't happen. It didn't happen that way. You saw it was going to happen because you changed such and such, but then the next day it happened in the other way. Your changes didn't mean nothing. It still happened, but I'm not talking magically, just the mundane thing. Now, I've seen magic work and I've seen it change lives. But once again, you're using the influence, more than the influence, but the power of the whatever God you're working with, whatever magic you're working with. You're bringing an outside force into it. And as the Greeks used to believe that we need the gods to change our destiny, to change the fates, to change the threads of our destiny. They need to come in to change the bigger things, maybe. They need to come in, and then that's, yeah, I guess they do that. They appease each planet, each god, to bring the abundance, whatever it is the person wants. They're appeasing the gods, because I saw how they do it. It's the same as magic in the Western world, the old style of magic, to appease the gods so they come in and change the things that we cannot change. The destiny is set in stone. It is an interesting concept because I've seen both ways.
The perspective or the concept of appeasing them is probably accurate on some level. But that, in my mind, and I'm always going to be inclined to entertain at least the somewhat bigger context in these things, but that in my mind really suggests a distance between you and them.
Because we have free will, there is some distance. If you have some free will, there has to be some little distance so you can do your things. And in the past, they didn't want the gods close to them. They did things to keep them away. It's too much power, it's too much danger, and that sort of thing.
Well,
it's not like
we
today.
get into a potentially sensitive area here, and that is the idea of the highest first. Is that if you're having an issue that you need to be resolved, and this is an analogy, and all analogies break down, but if you have an issue when you're shopping that needs to be resolved, you don't talk to the clerk, and you only sometimes get resolution with the manager. But if you go to the highest authority you can, then you're much more likely to get it resolved.
And that's what happens with the magic I work with. You go layers. You start from the messengers, you go up until you reach the highest.
But my perspective and understanding is that every time you go in steps, you're giving up something. You're giving up your attention, you're giving up your energy, your time, I'm going back to the analogy here, but maybe it's an allegory. I mixed them up. But
no.
and you're more often to get a no from the lower levels,
Yes.
and then you
I
have to
know.
appease them to
Yeah.
as it's common
And
these days, is
that's
to escalate
yeah.
it.
That's how the magic I work does it. You go from one to the next and next and next. You know the ancient names, and they respond, and then you keep going up and up and up. There are layers to get to the right person that will change what you want. So that's not.
But what if there was a way to develop that relationship with the highest without going up those steps?
Yeah, but I'm not here to discuss what magic and meditation against each other. That's not what I'm
I'm
doing.
not either.
Because we can't do that. Because you have your beliefs, I have mine. That's not my point. And I'm not here to put under the microscope the magic that I work and that others work. This would take many days, many.
And I'm not-
It wouldn't be done.
And I'm not well
That's
versed
not
enough
the
in
point.
either realm.
Yes, I know. And I know, of course, nobody can know everything at once.
But with that said, I'm still bringing up the point that if everything is connected and if everything is truly one, and it's a matter of revealing those connections and revealing one's status, then how could it be that, or we must consider how it could be, that those who we are appealing to, or that which we are appealing to, depending on how one wants to define it, is outside of us? Because the answer to me in this perspective is that it's not that they're not outside of us, it's that they're not only outside of us. So if they are, I mean, the example again is with the planets. An example is with the planets. The planets clearly are, by scientific validation, are external to us. They're out there. They can be seen and viewed and perceived and measured to different degrees through Western science. They're also understood from Eastern approaches to on a different level of manifestation, but still just as valid, just as real, to be inside of us. The same could, and my understanding does apply about all of what we refer to as gods.
They are.
They can be found outside of us, but it seems to be a long trip to get to them when they are inside of us as well. Take the shorter trip. And I'm not saying that the appeasing of
We do both.
Exactly. That is
We
what
do
I'm
both
saying.
because we're not just a body, we also have a spirit inside.
Right.
We have to do both sides.
Right. And I think that the very Hollywoody Western reinforcement of looking up into the sky to find God, it also suggests a distance, more than suggests. It basically promotes the idea of distance.
Yes, but even in the Vedic tradition, there the Agyas, that's an outside influence. They're reaching the planets. It's all for the gods and the planets. So
But
it
the-
is an
but the
outside as
additional-
well.
But the additional understanding of that is that those laws of nature that embody and support, in this case, the planets, but it also could be said the different gods, are also within us.
They are the planets.
So if there were ways to be in greater harmony, either momentarily or long term, like not or, and long term, with those laws of nature that embody and represent those different manifestations, celestial and divine, then that is how one influences the field of action. So it is a matter of, this is why that original point that I was bringing out, one of the reasons why, that the quality of these ritualistic performances, the effectiveness of the ritualistic performances includes the requirement of the level of consciousness and the clarity of consciousness of the performer. Because if the performer has greater access to or creates a situation where there's greater harmony with those laws of nature, then the performance is more effective. It enlivens and it awakens those influences that support you from within and from without.
Which makes sense, because we had yagas done in India and it didn't work. So
Right, it can have to
we had
do it.
many, it didn't work.
Yeah. We have the that variable of what was the quality of the performer. Also, how many layers of paint and wallpaper did that yagyu go through? That may not have yet revealed the original quality of the room, but may have gotten us closer to that. It's a difficult thing to measure because when you're standing outside, standing outside of the layers of paint and wallpaper, you can't tell necessarily how many layers there are to go. So then it's a matter of...
Which means it's all about purifying. That's what you believe in. It's all about purifying the being, yourself. And then,
exactly.
Which it makes a lot of sense,
It's even been said that every time a person meditates, it is as if a chip of paint of that layer of karma. You know, we see chips when we consider peeling paint off, you know. It could be a chip or two or a strip that come off. But we have layers, mountains of that. And so when someone wants to create an influence that maybe it's about better health, maybe it's about affluence, maybe it's about whatever.
Yeah, but where do all these layers come from? Why so much karma? Why is all this, for me, sounds so much like all bullshit. Have to be here to learn, to have lessons. What lessons?
Well,
come on.
I deliberately, because I know you're sensitive to this point, I deliberately didn't bring up the term or concept of lessons. But to me, it's a rather easy answer without having to go there. If we subscribe to the prospect that basically of reincarnation, then we reincarnate in the field of activity. So whether you think that we've been here dozens of times, thousands of times, or millions of times, every thought, deed, and action creates a karmic influence. So there are the mountains. So if we subscribe to the reincarnation concept,
we do,
or if one subscribes, then even if we accept the Western understanding of human history, then we've been around since cave dweller days. So we've been reincarnating since then.
Stuck.
Oh, I wouldn't say stuck in one perspective.
Stuck in the wheel of
well, that's samsara.
birth and rebirth.
Yeah. And that may be another discussion as to what is the understanding as how one gets off that wheel.
Through purification, through meditation.
But there are levels that,
To attain enlightenment, cosmic consciousness.
and the classic term for that in this case would be moksha, liberation. Not to be confused with salvation, which is another often important thing to attain, especially in these tumultuous times. We need a place of safety. But salvation is not the same as liberation. Salvation is a safer place on the wheel.
It doesn't get you out.
Right.
Then our New Year's resolutions would have a greater chance of happening if we focus on them, have our attention on them,
Yeah.
work on them, and then there's meditation for purification and everything else. And do some magic work. So in one, put your mask on.
I often view New Year's resolutions more like bookmarks. You're taking notes. You don't want to forget certain things.
Yeah. Oh, because it's coming. Today's what, 26?
Yes. Boxing Day. But think outside the box. Ing Day.
We do. That's what we do.